The views and opinions expressed on Think and Grow with Vette Green does not reflect the views of Charm City Direct TV Network. Some language, videos, and content may not be suitable for young viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Think and Grow with your girl, Vette Green. Today is such a fantabulous episode because we are talking about credit and mortgages and why credit is so important. This is something that I had to learn the hard way. I had to mess myself all the way up before I figured it out. Well, no, you know what? I had to mess myself up a few times, and now I'm figuring it out. So our first guest is Alandra Hall. She is CEO of AHall Consulting. Come on in, Miss Alandra. How are you? And thank you so much for being a guest on Think and Grow with Vette Green. I'm so happy that you are here. Tell everybody who you are and why you decided to get into credit counseling.
So my name is Alandra. I am the owner / CEO of AHall Consulting, which is my credit repair group. As of right now, it's just me starting off with my clients. The reason why I got started with credit repair would be I had a car accident where my vehicle was totaled out unexpectedly, and I had to get a new vehicle. So credit wasn't really that important at the moment. I wasn't, watching it, keeping an eye on it or anything. But I had to get a car within a certain time frame. Like I only had maybe 2 weeks to get a car. So I had the money for the down payment, but the credit wasn't where it needed to be. So I went to a couple dealerships. I called to get quotes, and they were just like, with your credit score, there's not a lot that we can get you into without having somebody to co-sign. And I was like, I don't want to have to get a co-signer. I don't want to put that debt on somebody else.
It's a headache.
Yeah, it is. And I didn't want anybody to feel responsible for the fact that if I wasn't able to finance my own vehicle. So I did actually get a co-signer. My boyfriend was able to co-sign for me, but I was like, I never want to be in this position ever again. I was like, I never want to be in this last minute wing or stretch of having to figure this out in 2 weeks. And I know my credit isn't where it needs to be. And all this stuff getting thrown at me. So I just started doing my research right away. I started looking for people who already had credit repair businesses, Black-owned credit repair companies. And I just really started to figure out if they offered classes, did they have success stories, and what I needed to do to get into a credit repair class. And that is why I got into credit.
Oh, what did you find the most surprising once you got into the business?
I would say the most surprising thing for me is that a lot of people do not know what's on their credit. So a lot of people know, like, okay, here's the number, but they don't know what's on there that's causing it to be at this number. So they don't know what's all in collections. They just really not knowing what's on their report or even how to read the report. So those were
Hmm.
like the most surprising things to me.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that utility bills will go on your credit. I remember being in
That's very
college
true.
and not realizing that a utility bill that I was like, I don't want to pay that, you know,
Uh,
will go on your credit.
yeah, I've seen that a lot, like utility bills, hospital bills, phone bills, even car insurance. They have an option. Yeah,
Really?
car insurance has an option now where a lot of them have private collection agencies that they go through and they report it on your report. So I've seen Progressive, I've seen Allstate, a lot of different companies report it to your credit if you don't pay that collections balance. So that's something
Wow.
too.
So no hopping from insurance company to insurance company and thinking that you're getting away with it because it's going to end up on your credit report.
Yeah, that's true. And a lot of them they will offer you could try to get settlements, but when it's still with an insurance agency, a lot of them don't. So you
Don't.
have to literally still pay that debt. It's not a settlement option. Even if it's sold, it's still just whatever you owe.
Is that when I was when I had talked to you when you had first started, I had some medical bills and none of the medical bills wanted to give me a settlement offer. None of them.
Yeah, it depends on the companies that you go through. And the
Okay.
companies could just make it to where they don't sell it, like they won't sell it. So it's just like whatever the balance is what they have to collect, but there's no settlement offers for certain companies. So it just depends on who has it.
Explain to the listeners what a settlement offer is versus full payment.
So a settlement offer is when the debt is sold. So that's the first thing. The debt gets sold. So you have a debt through, um, let's say you got a medical bill, a pass-through medical bill. So once that debt is sold and it goes into a collection agency, at that point, after 30, 60, 90 days, or three consecutive letters they keep sending you out for payment, they can sell the debt. And at that point, it might be a settlement to get like a cheaper option to be able to pay that off. And then the other option you said, if you just have to pay it outright, that's going to
Mhm.
be where there's no settlement available. They're just saying, this is the balance that you know that we know that you owe and you have to pay it. And it's just that exact balance, but nothing to reduce it. It's pretty much the
Okay.
difference.
Tamara was saying she didn't know that medical bills will show on your credit report. Yes, they
Yes.
will show.
That's good. Yeah.
Alandra, how often do you see medical bills on people's credit? Because that's one of the things that I heard put a lot of people in debt is the medical bills.
Well, I'm going to say so. Since I started with Credit Pair, I officially launched in October 13th. I officially launched altogether since last year, February. February is when I started taking my sample clients.
Hmm.
So last
Hey,
February, I would
Leah.
say from then until now, probably had about 25 clients, and maybe two people haven't had a medical bill.
Haven't
Everybody else
had
has had.
one?
Yep, 2 out of 20 to 25. I would say
Wow.
only two people didn't have a medical bill that was like in collections.
Wow.
Mm,
Wow. That is astonishing. That is astonishing. The
yeah.
we have to pay our medical bills. Even those co-pays is what get us. I
Mm-hmm.
know that's what got me, the co-pays, because you have to meet a deductible, and it's if you don't meet it, then you're going to get those bills. You have to pay the co-pays, and that's what all of mine were. They were my deductibles and co-pays. What about getting evicted or breaking a lease?
So evictions do get put on your credit report. So a lot of people are surprised by that. Like when you pull the report, it's the same thing. So there are a bunch of private companies where you could owe someone a bill. So say you had a phone bill with a small company like Metro PC, for instance. Metro PC could say they owe this debt. Here's how we verified this person owes it. They never paid it. I'm going to pay this collection agency $50 to go after you for this debt. And that's how it goes into collections and you owe that debt. So it's like internal, like a third party company who picks it up to make you make that payment, but Metro PC pays them. So that's pretty much how debt gets put on your credit.
Now, what if, say, for instance, if I started, if there was something on my credit report for 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to start making a payment for, $25, $10 a month, and then I couldn't afford that $10 or $25 a month. Does that restart
It
that
does.
date?
So the debt, it depends on your state. So a lot of different states have different credit repair laws to where they could like restart the debt. If you make a payment for 2 years consecutively and then one day you miss that payment, it can be sold to a new company and now you're starting all over with that debt. So a lot of people are like, I've been paying this for 7 years because it may have got sold to another company. You made a new agreement. Now you owe them. It's fresh on there. So
Oh,
it always can restart. It just depends on your state to say how long the debt is yours for.
now I lost my job and I can no longer afford to pay all of my credit card bills. How often do you see that, and what would you suggest happen in that type of instance, especially during
So
COVID?
yeah, and that I have seen that. Like I've seen people when I first launched, I had appointment options where I was like, you pick the appointment time, I call you and we go over your debt, like we assess it together. And if you lose your job, I recommend at least, if you can, paying more than the minimum when you're able to. But if you do lose your job, to try to call to see if they have the option to kind of put it in the freeze state. And it won't show late payments, it would just show that they have it on the hold compared
Mm.
to if you just don't call, you ignore it, you keep getting letters, it'll go from showing 30 to 60 to 90 days past due. And then that's something that has to be disputed from 90 days back to say what happened. But if you can call them, a lot of companies would just freeze it, especially during COVID. They just freeze it to show zero balance owed until whatever the term is, maybe 3 to 6 months. They'll put it back to where it'll start charging you late fees or whatnot. But they can freeze the past due balances.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
What about student loans? How do I know a lot of times student loans will go into default. That will show
Mm-hmm.
negatively on your credit report as well.
It does, but what I've noticed is that student loans doesn't have as big as an impact on your credit when you have student loans. The one thing that I do recommend is if you have like a bunch of small, like unsubsidized loans, you can always call the loan company and see if they will basically put it into one loan. So it'll be like one or two loans compared to showing that you have 15 different loans that you're making payments on. So you can call them to get it like subsidized, and they just make it to where it's one or two student loans compared to 15 to 17 different companies. So when you
Oh.
get that done, it looks much better on your credit compared to when you have uh, 16, 17 different companies with all interest on it. So that's something that can help you, but it's not a huge impact when it comes to your student loans most of the time, depending on how far you are behind.
How much of an impact are the late pays, like the credit card late pays?
Uh, so late payments on a credit card. I myself last month seen one of my clients wasn't able to post her credit card payment for January. And we were able to get her credit over like a 5 month span. I got it increased 84 points.
Ooh.
1 month late, it dropped down 73 points.
Oh.
So I like to say anywhere between maybe about 50 to 100 points of a drop if you have a past due payment.
One
So
payment.
with my credit repair, I try not to take clients. If you are actively past due, I would want you to pay your past due balance first and then we can start disputing. But if you're not able to pay your past due balance, then it's just going to keep reporting negative while I'm trying to dispute things. So I try to, only enroll if we got you up and running to current right now. That's how I do credit repair.
So this is a perfect segue because without credit, you can't get a mortgage.
That's
You
right.
have to have credit in order, and this is established credit, correct? Something
Mm-hmm.
established in order to get a mortgage. So let's bring Shalene in. Shalene is a realtor in the Western New York area. Good afternoon, evening,
Hello, hello,
Shalene.
hello.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to Think and Grow with Vette Green. Thank you both so much for joining me. Like I was saying backstage, is I really wanted to bring both of you on because I thought what both of you do ties in so well with each other, and especially now because right now it's income tax season. A lot of people
Mm-hmm.
are going to have this lump sum of money and may not know, if you pay down some of, or if all pay down all of your credit and you really want to buy a home, you may be able to do that. There's programs out there such as Alandra's credit repair business. There's programs out there that Shalene's aware of. There's grants out there that's available if you want to buy a home, but you have to know what to do when you get money. You have to know what to do with your money. So Shalene, again, thank you so much. Welcome, and explain to everyone, to all our listeners, who you are and what it is that you do.
Hey everybody, my name is Shalene Richardson. I'm a realtor at Keller Williams. So if you're looking for me, I'm there. I'm a real estate agent. I'm loving this job. I'm loving this different, business attire. So what I do is I help buyers look for homes and I help sellers sell their home. I help invest. I help people looking for rentals. So I buy, sell, and help for rentals. And what she's saying, credit is a big part of it. That's what stops people from buying. They got the money saved, they got the employment, they just stop that credit.
And that's usually what it is.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I tell lots of people that the clients that I have, they first time home buyer. There's so much first time home buyer grants. You just need and what stopped them is that they need a credit score. Mm-hmm. They can't get the grant unless they have that good credit score, and they're looking for that 660 and up, or the 640 or up. And they was like, "How do you do it? How do you do?" I'm like, "You gotta pay those steps. You gotta go." I send them over to lenders. They can help you. They could put you in a budget. You just gotta be really focused. Your mindset had to be really strong, and you gotta want it. You gotta put the footwork into it.
That's the thing. And do you find that as well, Alandra, that it's one thing to say you want good credit, but you have to actually want good credit mm-hmm. and be willing to do the work in order to establish that credit, in order to get that mortgage. So Shalene, what do you find as far as the housing market? It right now, I've heard that it's a seller's market.
It's a will and seller's market. It's right now, like looking at the MLS, it's like 340 homes available in the Erie County.
Wow. Now, is that a lot, or is that
that's usually if it's a buyer market between should be between 2,500 to 3,000 homes.
Oh wow.
So there is homes that's there's a home going on market, it's only lasting for 7 days. Imagine how many offers that they have.
Wow.
Like I had a listing a couple months ago and stuff like that, and I got seven offers. I had a buyer and I called one time, they said they have 11 offers.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's how crazy the market is. It's like it'd be one time, it'd be like we have to go see the house and we running. I'm like, come on, we gotta see the house. Mm-hmm. You have to get in. And I tell buyers, you have to be really focused. You got to be, you got to know what you want. I'm always giving buyers, I'm always having buyers having consultations so they know the expectation of this market. I don't want them to oh, this is not for me. It's not my time. I'm the one giving them hey, we could do this. I'm here. I'm taking away the stress from you. That's my job. So I always sit down and have a buyer consultation. I always tell them if they have any, money problems or any question about their finances, you go to your lender. I don't want to too much go with the money problems or, the solution of how much they have to put down. Mm-hmm. But I would, advise them hey, this house is 150, but in this house has sold for 180. So they'd be comfortable. And hey, let's talk to lenders. Let's see how much your monthly payments is. Lots of buyers are focused on a monthly payment than versus how much the house is worth.
And you have to be whenever you're looking for a mortgage, you want to be able to make sure that it's not going to have you homeless, because you have mm-hmm. to be able to afford that. And and there's programs such as I remember when we bought our first home, and this was 25, 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. I went through a first time home buyers program, and that helped me immensely with the down payment assistance and all of that. But I had to qualify through my credit. I remember this is how I found out about the utility bills. I had to pay off the utility bill that was on there. I had to bring my credit card utilization under what it was. I think it was under 30% or something like that. Is that Yeah, under 30% before I could even qualify. And that's once I was able to do that. And it took me some time, but I was committed to it. I really wanted to buy a house. So I was committed to paying down everything. But what I loved about the first time home buyers program that I was in at HSBC is that I had someone dedicated to assist me. And I went through these workshops and they really did help. And they told us about the grants and they told us about credit card utilization and not to, buy over the amount that just because they give you $150,000 to spend for a mortgage doesn't
You
mean
don't
you
have to
go
spend anything.
and buy,
Yeah.
right? So that's what that's another thing that I learned because you do really want it within your budget. So, Shalene, as you were buying your first home, what are some of the things that you ran into or the challenges that you saw for yourself that now you know?
Man, the challenge. I was about to give up at the very end. I had buyer fatigue. Like I didn't want to do it anymore. Like I told my realtor, like, find me apartment. I'm done with this. And then I looked at the apartment price. I'm like, 1,400. No, I'm back to the house. So it was really like you have to really be really focused. But it took me about a year to look for my own house. But the whole time I was still working on my credit. I was still saving. So during the time I was working on my credit, I ended up was able to get more
That's
of
good.
a pre-approval. I'm like, oh, so now I'm able to afford more, so I'm able to look at more houses.
Mm.
So I'm like, this is wonderful. Like I get to expand my house to search and stuff like that. But still, it was more of like, oh, come on, let's get it. But I love the house and I love the area. But I also told my buyers when we go look at showings, don't look at, oh, I'm going to put my couch there. I want to push my couch there. I'm going to put some mirrors. No, you want the foundation to be nice. You want to make sure
Right.
the house don't have no foundation problems, no electric problems, no plumbing problems. You want to make sure that it's solid. So I usually go into the house and I have the buyers just look and my clients just look and I'm just looking at, oh, any cracks, any water, how's the roof, how old is the roof? Like I'm always looking like, yeah, go ahead, look at the cosmetic stuff. I make sure I'm able on your side because as a buyer agent and even as a listing agent, I'm always on the side of my clients.
And that's the thing. One of the challenges that happened when maybe a year or so into the house after buying my first house, I had lost my job and I was using my credit cards. So when I think it was the roof or something like that, I couldn't get a home equity loan. I couldn't refinance or anything because my credit had gotten so bad because now we were living off the credit cards. So Alandra, what would you suggest someone who is looking into buying a home as far as their credit? What would you suggest that they focus on first if they have some, flaws in their credit right now?
So usually, like one of the first things, like when I do my consultation, I always try to go over a realistic expectation of how soon do you plan on buying or when are you ready to buy? Because I don't want to take on a customer who's like, oh, 30 days. I want to have my house by next month. Now I'm like, I'm not the person for you because I want to make sure. So just the realistic things, I try to get that out the way. What's your goal? And then for buying a home, I try to look at, okay, so let's look at your credit card utilization. Let's see if we can get you to a comfortable spot, at least below 30%. So let's see how we can maybe create a budget to pay down some debt. I also try to take a look at, let's see, anything that's just like small. If we have, like you said, a utility bill that's $100, $200, let's see how soon we can get that stuff out the way. So I'll try to dispute it. But if it comes back as valid debt, then let's see if we can get you a settlement to pay this off. Because we try to do the smaller things first to create habits, basically, to where we know, okay, you got high usage here, let's bring this down. So we bring down high usage first, disputing like late payments. If there's something that's at the point where we can get a settlement, I do those things first. So I try to get the, smaller things out the way first.
So what length of time do you set people up when you're helping them rebuild their credit?
So my recommendation is at least, I would say between 6 to 8 months. So I have like a monthly program where I charge So one set fee when you first sign up, which is like my audit fee to pull your report and see what's on there and basically create a game plan. And then every 30 days, I look at your credit report and see what came off, what came on, and what the creditors are saying. So that's something I do every 30 days. So it really just depends on the person. If you don't have much on your credit report, I wouldn't tell you got to stay forever or let's stay for 8 months for no reason. If it's just a couple things, I dispute everything right away. So as stuff starts to fall off, that kind of depends on where we're at with the time frame. But during COVID, so last 2 years, the creditors, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, the time frame has extended for them to be able to respond to letters and start disputing. So it used to only be 30 days, but right now, because of COVID, it's anywhere between 35 to 45 days. So wow. That, that kind of does push back the time a little bit, but I still say between maybe 6 to 8 months, depending on what you have on there. And if, I'm able to get stuff pulled off right away.
Oh, wow. And just like you talking about, roof repairs and stuff like that, just like buyer has, grants that they could use to purchase a house. Sellers have, they have a grant to loan program for sellers. So say if you need like a roof or a new roof, a hot water tank, electric work and everything, they have a program called grant to loan, which they pay 80%. You have to pay the other 20%. So it's different in different, counties. Like Lackawanna has a different one, Buffalo has a different one, and different areas of Buffalo have different type of programs for sellers. People didn't know that. I learned that just recently and stuff like that. Just researching like what can a seller does. What as a homeowner, what can they get? Like what programs would help them with if they in like a financial trouble or they have an emergency and they need this repair. There is some. Of course, they look at credit, but they don't go to like everything is credit. It always ends on
everything. And yes. Shalene, I was renting an apartment is credit. And even car insurance, all of that is based on your credit. Yes, but like my goal is to buy a house within the next couple of years or buy an apartment. What would you suggest for me, Shalene, as far as, I'm going through Alandra's credit repair and I want to buy a home or I want to purchase an apartment. How soon should I contact a realtor?
I tell people the two different ways. You could either go talk to a lender or you can go talk to a realtor. Lots of realtors have lots of relationship with lenders. So lots of realtors like, hey, I know this guy and he has this, this great program and you're a first time home buyer. I didn't know that. When I got my home and I was working with a realtor, even though I was a realtor, I'm like, you do all the house searching for me. I ain't doing it right now. So I didn't know that they have a first time home buyer grant program that was available at that time. So wow. I went to 3 lenders. So you able to you could search. I always tell people to shop. Like you shop for a car, you shop for what programs that you could qualify and what you could get and everything else. So I be telling people to go shop. So I tell people to talk to a realtor and they send you a lender or they refer you to a lender or you can go to your own bank, whoever you're comfortable with.
A lot of times realtors know who has.
Right. And sometimes based on what you're telling your realtor, okay, my credit might be messed up or, well, they looking for a 620 credit because most likely lots of lenders are looking for credit 620 and up. I know a lender who does 580, but since COVID has started and things have changed, that good area is the 620 and up. I have a client who closed a couple of months ago and her credit was around that score, and she got a nice house. I'm like, there you go. Let's keep on running.
You find, before we go to break, we have about 30 seconds before we go to break. And we can tackle this when we come back. Do you find that a lot of people's eyes are bigger than their pockets when it comes to?
Yes.
Let's talk about that and more. Stay tuned, everybody. We have Alandra and Shalene. Thank you, ladies, again so much. I really appreciate it. You guys are teaching me some stuff, so I am taking it all in. Thank you so much. We're going to break.
Tell me what you see when you're looking at me. A pretty face? Huh? You think that's all I can be? Tell me what you see when you're looking at me. Because I strive to be all I can be. Because you know what? I found her. I found me.
She's here. She's live. She is Vette Green, host of Think and Grow with Vette Green. Watch her live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook at Vette Green. Also watch her live on Charm City Direct TV on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. You don't want to miss this dynamic show. A show of encouragement, inspiration, motivation, and so much more. So get ready for Think and Grow with Vette Green.
Hey, this is your bro, K-Life. I've been here, man, at My Spot Barbershop, 2016 Bel Air Road, over 20 years, bro, and I'm still kicking. Come up here, man. You know I've put the sights up on you, and I'm definitely never hard to find. You can reach me at 410-878-5033. Get at me, man, and I guarantee you I put in work. Peace.
I got all melancholy watching that, E-Digger. Oh, my producer. Thank you, ladies, so much again for joining us again. E-Digger, are you back there? Are there any nuggets that the ladies dropped on you or something that you didn't know?
I didn't know half of the information that they were saying.
Lots of people been saying that. Like, how do you start? How do you start? I'm telling you, talk to a realtor.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Talk to getting credit repair. I'm like, it works. I honestly, when I first bought my house, like when I started looking for her, I didn't know nothing about nothing. Like, I didn't know to look at the structures. I didn't know about nothing. But when I started learning, I'm like, oh, all these great ideas and all this and all these programs. I'm like, why do nobody else know this? Like, why am I not itching trying to buy a home and everything?
So when my wife and I bought our house, I always got a story.
Come on, E-Digger, bring it.
So she found she liked this person, that the realtor. I didn't like her because she was a little ghetto. You know.
What's ghetto, E-Digger?
Ghetto is well, that's another podcast. But she was a little ghetto, but she knew her stuff though. I can say that. Some of the tactics that she used, I wasn't used to or didn't know about, but she was able to get us. She didn't get us into the home, but we stayed at the home. That it's a long story with this house. Put it that way. We was trying to buy the house. We was renting, but we wanted to buy because the rent on this house was mortgage. You know, that's how much rent we was paying for this house. Yeah. And we said, you know, for the amount of money that we are putting out on this house for rent, we could just go ahead and buy. And when we finally finalized on, you know, everything, it was much lower than the mortgage was much lower than, you know, the rent. Right. So yeah, but y'all dropping some good nuggets.
Some nuggets. I think that, like, especially that the rent is going up. Like, I'm seeing rent that's $1,700, $1,200, $1,400, $1,000, and it'd be like $1,000 for 2 bedrooms. I'm like, what? Right. I mean, that's a mortgage right there. If you could do that, you could do mortgage. And lots of them rent is not like it's not including electric, gas, water, cable, and all that kind of stuff. So you paying that, so you can go ahead and buy a house. You just really got to be focused on, you know, repairing that credit and saving up.
It depends on where you are too. Like where you are, E-Digger, it's kind of expensive in the DMV area.
So Baltimore, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna jump off because I think you have a question. Okay. You got a question. I'm gonna post that question.
Okay.
So we was looking because our daughter, she's in the process of moving out. And my wife was looking for like 2-bedroom houses, and you would not believe how much the rent was. I'm not talking about mortgage. The rent was like
I can
$3,000.
just imagine.
And
Oh
I'm
my
like, is
God.
the house talking to you? Like,
You sound like my mom.
is the
That's
is
the
the
Right.
thing she was saying.
is the toilet gonna come to you when
Right.
you gotta go to the bathroom? Like what?
Does it come with a pool in the car?
Yes. Remote control. Like
That's a lot.
it was
It's
$3,750. I could own a 2-bedroom house. Like,
She
wow.
couldn't even
wow.
rent rooms on that. That's crazy.
Right.
Right.
She would be
That's
able to do
crazy.
anything.
Imagine you putting like 3,000 in your bank every month and saving that for a down payment.
Oh, I
You could
like that.
buy two. I mean, and then it's so crazy because it's not only like lots of people like I want to buy a house for my family. You could buy a 2-family household and rent something on top, and then have them pay for your rent.
Right.
I mean, pay for your mortgage.
So I'm gonna jump off, guys.
All right.
Y'all doing
Thanks, C
good.
Digger.
So
That,
there's
that,
so much you can do with buying a home. Like I don't want a single family home. Okay, buy a 2-family home. Have that
yeah.
mortgage pay for.
We
have
have a
that
credit
pay for your
question.
mortgage.
It's Liana. I have a credit question. What would be the best source to go with when repairing my credit? My credit union or credit? I asked you the same thing, or Credit Karma.
All right. So I have a love-hate relationship with Credit Karma. So Credit Karma, I'm going to say most of it is accurate when it comes to the things that you see on your profile for Credit Karma. So like showing the collection accounts, but those numbers are never correct. I'm talking those numbers could be off by hundreds of points. So, and a lot of the time it's because Credit Karma does not update consistently like every 30 days. So for me personally, the number one, two things I recommend either Identity IQ, and that does have a subscription where you would either pay between maybe $20 to $30 a month for it, but it allows you to pull your report once every 30 days. So if you even are disputing things on your own, you can still see, hey, I disputed this and it didn't remove. This is the reason why it says it didn't come off. And then you could do the same thing with Smart Credit. That's another one I recommend because both of those let you pull your utilization every 30 days and see what's being disputed. You could use Credit Karma for looking at the things, and you could call the creditors just to say, hey, this isn't mine or disputed, but those numbers are just going to throw you all the way off. So I just don't recommend it for the numbers. So those are my like top two.
Thank you for that. You guys, if there's anyone watching, Liana said no. If
I
there's
know,
anybody
it'll
else
get you.
watching that has any other questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat. These ladies are here to help get you guys where I believe you want to go because you're watching right now. And I do not believe that God makes any mistakes. We have someone on here that specializes in credit repair. We have someone on here that specializes in the buying and the selling of homes. She's a realtor in the Buffalo, New York area. You guys utilize these services. This is one thing that I have learned is that you have to invest in yourself. You have, if you know you need somebody, because I see a lot of people out there, they want to sell their own home or they want to try and do their credit repairing themselves and then they get overwhelmed because it's a lot. This is why these are things that if you have the money, and I'll say this, if you can go to the store and get yourself something to drink every Friday night, seriously, because some of that liquor, listen, I just was at a party this weekend and the liquor bottle was $50. If you got $50 every Friday to spend on you some liquor, you can pay for credit repair services. You can put that money on the side and make sure you get a realtor. Don't try and get it all on your own because they specialize in these things. This is why you pay them, because they specialize. So instead of trying to do it yourself, do you have any information about the programs? If you tap into, hi Kanisha, if you tap into these ladies, I'm not sure if you're talking about the mortgages or credit, we're going to show their social media at the end of this, but come on ladies, what else do you see in your line of work? What do you see is the most detrimental thing we as people can do it? And you can start, Alandra, as far as credit.
So something that I want to stress is a lot of people. So if you have a vehicle and you do refinancing, a lot of people, or refinancing, or even if you're looking to purchase a vehicle, if you know where you want to go, like maybe you got 3 options narrowed down, like I'm going to go up the street to this dealership and up the street to this one, and I'm going to drive an hour to that one. If you know where you're going to go, you can call them and ask them, what type of credit report do you guys pull? Do you know what score you use, instead of going there? Because I have worked with somebody, I want to say almost a year. We worked together with credit repair, and I was able to bring that score up well over 100 points. But she went to a dealership and she let them just run her credit against every company that they could, until they said, "Up, we got you the best rate." So once I repulled her report that next month, we had about 20 things that were going to be needing to be disputed because they all denied her. So those still come up showing. And a lot of people do that. They go to the dealership blindly and they're like, well, what can I get? And they're just going to run that report and they'll pull it against however many companies they can until they find you the cheapest rate. And they don't tell you that until 30 days later or 2 weeks later, you start getting those emails saying this company pulled. So that's one of my big stressors, is like, you can always just call and say, hey, my credit's between this and this, but I want to know what you guys use to pull the report. And they can say, oh, well, we pull a FICO score or we pull this score, just so you know exactly where you're at with that. So that's definitely one of my big stressors.
Thank you. We have another question from Richard. What motivates you? And Shalene, we can start with you because we had a really good conversation about this. And Alandra, you're just like a serial entrepreneur. I swear you are. I love the faith you have in yourself. Everybody doesn't have that, Alandra, truly. What motivates the both of you to help your clients every day?
Man, what motivates me to help my clients is I love the feeling of helping others. Just to have an aspect like they could do it. What I was at a seminar that's for like 7 classes that span it in 2 weeks. And it's like 5 hours each. And it's limiting beliefs. And they taught us like our minds sometimes stop us from believing that we could accomplish something. And me, if I listened to my parents back in the days of buying a house when I was younger, then waiting until I want to hit 30 and buy a house. You know how, like, I'm looking back then like, dang, this house was $30,000 and now his house is way above that. Like, you know how much I could sell my house for today? Like, just like a limited belief, just to know and to grow and to help people to give them information, to give them programs, to tell them like, hey, there's things out here that we can use. To help people to purchase a house or to sell their house I like it. I just love it. I always wanted to be helping other people. I don't know how to explain it, but it just to help somebody, like, it's something else. Like, it's different. Like, other than being, a nurse and stuff like that, I'm also helping somebody to purchase a big thing. This is a big purchase.
You're helping somebody realize their dream. They're helping, and that's how we get blessed, when we help, when we serve others. And what both of you ladies truly are doing, whether you get paid for it or not, that's your job, but that's also your time. So you're supposed to get paid because you're adding value into the world. There's a lot of things that we pay for that's not adding value to our lives. What both of you ladies do are adding value. You're doing something that will potentially help elevate someone. So Alandra, what about you? What motivates you? Because you are someone that I know you. And what I love is that you are not afraid to start that business and say, you know what, I'm going to do this. You're not afraid. So what motivates you to help other people?
So I'm going to have to go with Shalene. Like, I love helping people. I love the knowledge that I have that I can give to other people. And I really do want to be a part of a community that can help create general wealth, or generational wealth. So I want to make it to where my nieces and nephews know what credit repair is. They know what I need to do to get the things that I want. And also just teaching people that it isn't all about the cash that you physically have in your pocket. You can have thousands in your bank account, but if you can't invest it somewhere, or if your credit doesn't reflect where it needs to be, no one's going to look at you and say, I want to give you a loan. Like, it's just not going to happen. So I just love the education part of it. Like, I like helping people and getting them where they need to be. And also the word of mouth. Like I teach you something, you teach someone else something. You
Right.
tell them what I taught you. So I love that. Now, I've always been a person to jump out, you know.
We have another question about credit. D'Amica, hello, Queen. So she said she got on late and she's currently working on her credit. Can I just have a quick guide to buying this year with challenging credit? What would you suggest she begin to work on first?
Credit.
So
Credit.
yeah, definitely starting with your credit because
that's the first part.
First step is credit, and I would start looking at what are the simple things on your report. So any type of discrepancies that you can dispute off. So those type of things are what I recommend starting with. Something you notice as simple as maybe a wrong address or a debt that has different amounts. If you got stuff like that you see with different discrepancies, that's where I would start. And then start with the lower balances first. And if you're able to, pay more than the minimum. So set up a plan and maybe deciding, a lot of people call it, I want to say the snowball effect, where you start off paying one of your larger credit cards, or even if you're paying more than the minimum. Yeah. And then you roll down. Once you pay that card off, pay the next one down. So starting with whatever your highest balance is and paying more than you can. So I try to do at least, my minimum is $50 more than what the minimum payment is what I do. So then once I get that credit card down below where I need it to be, I do that same amount for that next card and just keep rolling it down till you get your debt off.
I tell lots of my clients to start a budget. Lots of people don't know where they put their money. I didn't. I spend more money on food than I spent on anything else when I started looking at I'm like, hold up.
Especially 2020.
Right. I was like, no. I became on a really strict budget with myself. I be telling people I'm broke. Like I'm broke. Like I moved back with my mother and I was acting like I was paying rent to myself.
Ooh,
that's smart.
I like that, Shalene.
And I'm like, when I say paying rent to myself, I'm like, okay, so average amount during this time, the rent, my old rent was like $850. So each time I get paid, that $450 would go to a savings account. And I don't even look at the account. I go to a credit union where I have to legit drive like miles to go get, to get the money. So I just did it. And I'm like, and it got to adding up at the same time. And then I realized I didn't have credit. Like I had credit, but I needed a credit card to prove that I'm responsible with credit. So I'm like, oh, okay. Now I need to work on that. So I tell people just to budget, write everything down. And I say everything down, like how much you're going to spend on your hair. If you do going to do entertainment purposes, how much you're going to spend on entertainment, gas, groceries, budget everything. And then also budget emergency funds because you just never know what's going to happen.
And this might sound silly, but for your budgeting, sorry to interrupt you, get a calendar. Right. Get a calendar, a physical one, because you save that stuff in your cell phone. You like, oh, this bill is due. The notice comes up, you slide it off like, oh, I'm going to pay it. I still owe it. Get a physical calendar. And this is, it's brand new. But if I showed you my last year's calendar, every month, like when we run through this, I put, let's see if I can show you this. I put like where we at? Okay. What I have for that specific day. These are like my goals over here. So this is what I want to knock down for this month. So me and my friends have an accountability meeting that we do once a month where we write what our goals were for the previous month and if we met them. But each day I put what the bill is, put it according to that paycheck. And that's how you really can budget. If something unexpected happens, even if it's bad, put it in there just so you know, like I spent some extra money here, but you know where your money's going that next month. So I do that with my manual calendar.
I like that idea, Alandra. Oh my God. Look, guess what she's going to be.
I got a big one over there somewhere. I don't know where that planner is because it was last year's. But I go through and I'm like, went here. And a lot of times too with budgeting, I don't know if you're the type of person to, go out or whatnot, but I honestly try to, if it's not in my budget a week before, I don't go. I don't go. I stay home because that's going to be unexpected money that you're going to spend. And you're going to be like, well, I had $150. I spent $70.
Right.
Now I went out to eat 2 times this week. I spent $70.
Right.
So that's going to happen a lot. So I really just write it down in my calendar. Now I've been trying to stick by it.
I always tell people, like, lots of people like to go out for entertainment. Always create a budget, and that would be your budget. If you got $5 left, you might go to $50 to buy some candy and watch a movie. That's your entertainment. That's your budget for the week. So I tell people, people's like, what you do for a budget? How do you do it? I'm like, nope, this don't. And then to go back as far as realtors and how we get paid, as a buyer agent, you don't pay us. We get paid by the sale of the home. So people don't know that. So you don't have to say, oh my gosh, I got to buy a realtor, but I don't want to pay the realtor. But as a buyer agent, because the seller agents are different, as a buyer agent, we get paid by the sale of the home. So whatever home that your contract or your offer have been accepted, that money proceeds to us. Like, it has nothing's coming out your pocket. So we are actually really helping you, and we are showing all these houses and everything else and everything. So
I love that. And you had to learn how to budget because you're working off of commissions.
Right. So best to believe we putting our best foot forward.
So what was the biggest, before we're going to be closing out in a little while, what if you guys could leave our listeners with one or two tidbits of additional nuggets, because you both have definitely, I'm like real full right now with, okay, this is what definitely get a budget. Get a budget. But what else would you leave? I'm definitely using that, Alandra, actually. What would you suggest for those who are maybe just now returning back to work because COVID? You know, a lot of people, they lost their jobs, and maybe they're looking for a job and they want to buy a house. The rents are going up. The rents are ridiculous right now. You really can. You should get a mortgage. My very first mortgage, I went from paying $600, living in the projects at that, $600 a month, to paying $348 for my mortgage. Yeah, that house on 2811, $348. So you really can do a lot. Hello, love the information. How about teaching our youth about the importance of credit? Absolutely, I agree. I believe, like both ladies said, generational wealth is something that has been built with not only just money, it takes credit. I did not realize how important credit is for not just if you're interested in buying a home, renting.
Everything, yes.
Renting. When I moved to Delaware the second time, I had to take kind of a not so well apartment with all the glim and glam. I had the money, but my credit was crappy. So I had to deal with an apartment that the air conditioner worked when it wanted to. And you have to settle when your credit is not up to par. So with that being said, if you were talking to one of our youth, what would you suggest to them? And we'll start with you, Alandra, up at the top there.
Let's see. So talking to the youth. So some things that I usually recommend are, I would say, not to jump straight into getting credit cards. A lot of like younger people are like, oh, I'm 18 now, or I'm at Victoria's Secret, let me apply for a card. So they're just applying for different things until they get something. So I usually don't recommend just jumping straight into applying for credit cards, and trying to like maybe more so target one that's going to be beneficial for you. So like if it has points or rewards back, if it's somewhere that you shop, but not a whole bunch, or even if it's just a basic card that you could just use for gas. So I try to recommend going with something that's affordable, maybe a $200 limit on a credit card when you first start off at a young age. $1,000 limit is dangerous to anybody under 20 years old, maybe even 21. That is so dangerous because you're going to start running with
40 for some people.
Okay, especially holidays. And I don't recommend younger people don't apply for clothing credit cards if you can avoid them, especially holiday time, because you're going to take that credit card and max it out buying Christmas gifts, and then who knows when you'll pay it off. So those are things I just don't recommend if you're younger.
What about you, Shalene? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, don't let people put stuff in your name. Don't do that either. That's not a recommendation.
Thank you for that, Alandra. Shalene, I am 24 years old and I want to move out my mom's house and I really want to get a mortgage. What would you suggest? What would you What tidbit would you drop to someone? I'm 24.
Stay. No, this
Right?
I will stay until I get everything corrected as far as saving money for down payments and closing costs. I will save for credit.
I'm sorry. I said the same thing. I said stay.
Listen, it's real out in those adulting streets.
But if your goal is really to be independent around that time, I would definitely make sure you save money if you want to get either an apartment or a house or even invest. Make sure your credit is nice. It is up to par. So even I always tell people invest in real estate. If I know the information I know today, I will invest in real estate as far as getting apartments and renting them out or living in one and renting the top one out. I feel like real estate is a good money maker industry. You're never going to lose out on it.
Look
you
around.
Always hold it, sell it, live in it. Like you'll always have it. So I always tell people if you can't to stay as long as you can, save up as much, build your credit. Build your knowledge, your information, because nobody can take that away from you. They can take your money, they can take everything else, but they can't take your knowledge and the information that you have. So
I love that. One of one of the many things I love about the Muslim community where we're from is that's what you can see them investing in the real estate. Mm-hmm. They are literally investing in the real estate. What would you? The other thing you had mentioned is buying a duplex home, Shalene. There's an income in that.
It's the income, especially lots of they do have lots of programs where they will allow you to use down payments and grants and stuff like for it because you have to live in it. And they consider that income. They already when you purchase a duplex and everything, and they say how much is rent. A rent is around $1,200 in that area, so they factor in as income already.
Oh, wow.
So lots of people don't know that. I'm like, if I would have known that like 10 years ago, I'd probably buy a house when I was 20. And then rent that. And then, I could just, sell the house 10 years later and look how much my house will be worth.
Look, we can look around us. If you live in the Western New York area and you see Benderson Development all around, he owns that land.
Right.
He owns that land. It's always good to purchase homes that you may be able to get some income out of. It's always good to do that. Any lasting words? E-Digger, you have any lasting words? Any other questions out there? This has been really great. I've definitely learned a lot. Alandra, I wish I had you and Shalene both 15 years ago.
If anybody's looking to buy a home or even and sell their home or to upgrade, downgrade, call me. Email me. I'm here. We could do a buyer consultation. Even though you probably think you're not ready, you would know the steps of being prepared and being focused and know what you have to do. Because some people, if you don't know what you're doing, they just do anything and mess everything up. So come to me. We could have a buyer consultation, or if you think about selling a home or know somebody who's selling a home, contact me.
Yeah, this was a great show, and people, they needed this information because a lot of people don't know. Especially young people, and you're right. It's like when I discovered credit that I did not have to pay for it right away. And honestly, this is something that they should be teaching in schools.
Agree.
That I agree.
When you come out of school or when you're in school, and just have a course of credit. The importance of having credit and not abusing it, because young people, once they figure it out, it's like, oh, I could get this without paying for it right now.
Right.
That's the first thing you hear.
Right. So this was very good. Very good.
Definitely. There's so much out there, so much information. I wish I knew all the information I knew.
Well, ladies, tell everyone where they can find you, both of you. And I apologize for the interruption. It's my phone. Just tell everybody. This has been a night, Lord. What you trying to tell me? What you trying to show me? I'm talking to my father, guys. You guys have been definitely informative. Shalene, tell everybody. I don't know. My phone was ringing. I apologize, everybody.
It's okay. Well, as you know, my name is Shalene. I'm Roadside Keller Williams. My number is 716-598-5853. My email address is Shalene, .Richardson@kw.com. I'm always on Facebook. Hit me a private message if you want to set up a buyer consultation or a selling consultation, or just want to talk about real estate.
I love that. And Alandra, tell everybody about your services and where they can find you.
So I currently do have a Facebook page. I have to get straightened out with my business page, but it is AHall Consulting. I also have, it's the same thing for my Instagram, just AHall Consulting. I have my business number listed on my page too, but I'm out of Ohio. So I'm 330-647-3196 is my contact, and you could book a consultation or whatever you're looking to do. I daily post Monday through Friday. I post free credit repair tips on Instagram and videos, pretty much consistent. Monday through Friday, I post that stuff on my timeline.
Well, thank you, ladies. I really, really appreciate all of the knowledge that you guys have dropped. You have definitely brought some value to Think and Grow with Vette Green. And if you were listening and you learned something, make sure you drop these ladies a comment. This is their livelihood that they're doing. This is not for play. Right, this is for real. So, thank you, ladies. Thank you, E. Digger.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
What's going on, you guys? Thank you so much for joining me on Think and Grow with Vette Green. I hope you enjoyed what you heard today, and I hope that you come on back. Go ahead and follow me on YouTube at Think and Grow with Vette Green, Instagram, Vette Green, and of course, Facebook, Vette Green. Come back, tell somebody about this podcast. They may need what you got today. Come on back. Make sure you subscribe.